just pipe down a little bit? No. What we wanted to do is we kept the funeral quite precise so that it stayed on time, but we knew that there would be a lot of people that wanted to say a few words about Bill. So that's why we've set up the system back here. One, so that we can do a few speeches, and then after everyone's left, two, that the drunken fireman can do some karaoke into the early hours of the morning. But I know that there's a few people that want to speak, so we're going to, you can come up, take the mic. We want to keep them short, so we don't want somebody worrying on for about 5 minutes. John, we're looking at you. So if I come up and just slowly put my arm around you and say, hey, great speech, that's really hand over the mic, you're done, you cut, out, move on. So John, who was my very first chief at Coromandel Fire Brigade, he's come down, and I know he wants to say a few words on behalf of the Coromandel Fire Brigade, because during our track running days we had a lot to do with Paeroa and Bill, and John Bull was a very good friend of Bill, and he would have come down today if the weather was great. So John.
Thanks, Toby. Yeah, I said to Toby just before, get his eyes off me, because I was his first chief, and I said go and see Mo, which was the second, and don't count on me being the next one. So, but on behalf of Coromandel Brigade, I'm retired now, but I know the guys, John Bull particularly, they were looking forward to come down today with a full team, with a van load, but they told me the road was blocked at Manaia, so they couldn't come down. So I'm grateful that I've got the opportunity to come down and represent Coromandel still, and we had a lot to do with John Bull particularly. So it's a sad day for you and a sad day for the rest of the fire service because of what he did for competitions, and he was a true gentleman, and he'd be a big loss to you guys. So thank you, Toby. You don't have to put your arm around me.
Great speech, Sean. If you could just take a seat, that's fantastic. Yeah, safe travels. Awesome. So, Mark, you look like you've got a... I'll come to you, shall I?
Thanks, Toby. Ko inga, te tautara o te Wainui a Tānei. The totara in the Great Forest of Tānei is fallen. Now, look, I actually wrote a speech out, and I'll try not to take more than 5 minutes, Toby. But look, I think like everybody, it's with sadness that I'm standing here today, and I have to say it's also a privilege to be able to speak to you. And so I'm Mark Timworth, I'm the group manager for Group 3, which covers Paeroa, and I'm also representing, I guess, our Waikato district. And like many my colleagues and people that have gone before us who couldn't be here today, my colleagues pass on their condolences to the family, to friends, and to colleagues within the brigade. Bill will be dearly missed by many. That's an absolute. Look, I met Bill in late 2019 and had the privilege to work with him and provide support. And I wrote provide support, and then I wrote when he allowed. Bill was very, very independent, and he wasn't one to ask for help. And I know it's already been mentioned. And I looked after, in my capacity, looking after the Eastern Waikato, and now looking after the group. Now, the first time I met him was here across over there, actually, in the old station before it was revamped. And it was a little bit of a catch-up about the new boundary fence. That's the boundary fence out there. Now, if anyone knows the history of how that boundary fence got to where it is, you will possibly understand a little bit about why we had this catch-up. And I guess I think that was my first sort of real encounter with Bill, and in a very respectful and resolute manner, he was able to impress the brigade's dissatisfaction, because it's not quite where everyone thinks it should be. And actually, he led the conversation to that sort of an amicable sort of outcome, which was really cool. And that was my first sort of real interaction with Bill. And I remember him as a quiet, and already a quiet-natured, respectful, private and caring person. And it's been mentioned numerous times about Bill being a gentleman, and I think that's just a great description. And one of my colleagues pointed out when we were talking, she can't be here, Linda McFarlane can't be here. That's exactly what she said. He was just such a gentleman. So look, for me, Bill was quite a nature, but he was fiercely loyal and protective of the Paeroa Brigade, and particularly its members. He was respectful of others in his language, in his manner. However, he was able to assert what he was thinking and his opinions to ensure he was heard and the brigade was heard. So if the brigade's not aware of that, now you are, because that was my directions. You know, he was caring and thoughtful of everyone around him. But at the same time, he was driven and dedicated to the ongoing well-being and future of this brigade. And he advocated for others as an absolute for the brigade and the community. And look, I often wondered, because when I started here, I met Bill and I'm thinking, oh, it's great. And I was like, Bill, so why after 32 years are you still in chief? This is me wondering, I didn't actually ask Bill that. And when I met him, it had been 28 years. And, you know, the more I got to know him, the more I realised it was his passion and dedication for the brigade and its members that, and the community that kept him doing what he did. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about him. It was about everyone around him. And, you know, he worked tirelessly, as you all know, behind the scenes, keeping the brigade running, looking after people, looking out for people. And he leaves behind a true legacy and a huge board. I was saying to Bill Jr. this morning when I arrived, I say it was an omen or whatever. I was driving through Lordton on Hamilton, and the biggest tree, well, I was going to say the biggest tree, it was huge. You couldn't put your arms around it. In fact, 4 or 5 of you with arms together would be lucky to get around this thing. They'd fallen over in the park. And I thought, you know, symbolising very much, I started with a whakatauki about a toe to the tree. And, you know, I think it's a true reflection of Bill and the significance and the mana that he had in the forest and in this brigade and in the community. And look, for his family and friends, keep his memory close. And stand tall with pride and love for the person he was. For the brigade, it's now your turn to continue with his legacy, or the legacy of the brigade itself, and take the brigade into the future. So thank you very much. Rest in peace, Bill.
That was bang on. Next time when you come to my office, I'll be calling you over, telling you to come to me rather than the other way around. A few more stripes on you. I think we did Bill absolutely proud this last week, the amount of money that we've showed in this brigade. Everybody, and I mean including everybody that's partners, children, all came down here and rejoiced in what we were trying to do to give Bill the send-off that he deserved. He'll be immensely proud of the tidy effort we did in the tanker shed. I don't think it's been this tidy for a little while. And if he had been down there in the change room this morning watching everybody iron their pants with precision creases, getting the right amount of steam, and watching Ducky in the toilets cutting everyone's hair and trimming everyone up so they look absolutely immaculate, he would have been immensely proud. Is there anybody else that wants to come and say a few words? Warren, looking at you.
I did have quite a speech, but I'll trim it down.
Really loud.
Okay. My story. We've been part of Chief William James Rackham, QCM, and Bill, as we all call him. Bill joined the brigade in 1967, as we touched on earlier, with his father being in the brigade at the time. He served the Paeroa community for 56 years. Both his sons, Bill and Graham, were in the brigade for those periods of time in the 80s, and young Bill still serving in Tauranga. Bill, as we've all said, was a quiet-spoken and true gentleman in all aspects. He rarely raised his voice at fire calls, meetings, and of course on track running days. After retiring from track, he became a judge and he was our coach. I joined the brigade in 82, transferring from Thames. Noel Thompson was chief, and at the time Bill was deputy. Bill welcomed me in with open arms, and our friendship went on from there for 46 years. Bill was a master of controlling the water with the key and bar on track days, and he was so good. The Morinthal team, which way back was one of the top teams in the 70s, at a Nationals, had an injury, and Bill, they pulled him in to be on the key and bar. And I know Ray Hampton would back that up, and probably Tiny could as well. There you go. I knew. Okay, in 84, I was brought into the Paeroa track team, and our Auckland district runs were held at Tiamutu. Team was Bill, Marty Cleve, Selwyn Kepper, and me. We ended up 4th for the day. We, as a team, mastered quite a few of those track runs, and on the day we could win a shield and a cup quite easy. But they were few and far between, but we still had a great time. And I've got to tell you, the year we were heading to Invercargill for the Nationals, we were flying out of Hamilton. Our cars were left at Bill's parents' place. Everything was going to plan. Dropped our bags off, got our tickets. Bill and Selwyn then got in their cars and headed back to Hamilton to Bill's parents' place. We're at the airport there, an announcement. Could you please board your flight? We had to get off. We could not hold the plane up. They weren't going to stay there for us. So we ended up flying down to Invercargill without Bill and Selwyn. And I can recall Selwyn saying, we watched the plane leave. To make matters worse, there were no flights. So until the next day, we did not catch up. Well, that was Lindsay and I. We did not catch up with the team until about 10 o'clock in the morning. We picked them up, shot around to the track. Bill thought that we could sneak in without a fuss, and no such luck. An announcement came over the PA system. We'd like to welcome Paeroa to the National Track Day in Invercargill competition. So it was a little bit embarrassing. But we went straight into the Mad Mile, and we ended up 4th on that Mad Mile. So we weren't too bad after all that. And we did get a lot of stick in the BT and afterwards and during the day and the whole competition. Shane Morgan was telling a different story the other time we went to Invercargill, but we won't go there. One other one which was quite funny, we had competitions in Tiamutu again, and at the time Bill was working for Lockwoods, the Walmsley brothers, and he had the Walmsley van. So we went to Tiamutu, had a great day, and we're driving back. We got to Eureka, or past Eureka, would have been better at Eureka, and we ran out of gas. It was raining and blowing. Sal and I didn't have a problem because we still had plenty of beer in the back of the van. So poor Bill, we left him to hitchhike back to Eureka service station, get some petrol. The people that picked him up felt so sorry for him, they actually brought him back, and we pulled up and we carried on. One issue there was when we got home, and we were home late, and it didn't worry us, but our wives did not believe that story, that we'd run out of petrol. So and probably one other one, which was a funny one. Years ago, we had competitions in Paenui. They were trying out the track before the Auckland district. So we went over there, and I know no Waihi guys are here, so we can laugh at that. We had the competition. Oh yes, there is. There's a part Waihi guy there. But anyway, long and short of it, we didn't have that great a day, but we were back at the Paenui station, and we had a few drinks, and we were leaving the station, heading back to Paeroa, when we noticed a Waihi vehicle there with their competition trailer. We could have some fun here. So we disconnected their tow bar and safety chain and made it look like it was connected to the van, and then we drove off. And even Bill was laughing, thinking it was funny. And you know, as we got back to Puri Pub, we were still laughing about why he driving down the road without their trailer connected. And they blamed us, of all things, why he blamed us. So, but I'd just like to, at this stage, there's many stories, and I'd like to thank Bill for all those great memories. Rest in peace, you deserve it. It's time for you to catch up for all those past firemen, and I'm sure there's a fire brigade up there.
There was always shenanigans on those trips. I remember I didn't go to the first Invercargill trip, but I was at the next Invercargill trip where you and Shane were slightly inebriated, because I think Coromandel was in that same room for most of it. We didn't end up having to go to the function, so we managed to get out of it.
I've never drank Black Russian again.
But we always used to, in the track running days, everyone had a sign, so you had your town sign. And Paeroa was always the hardest to steal, but we did steal it. So Coromandel was very good at having all these signs, and then every now and again we'd just pull out a random sign and have it up at our tent, just to let them know who was in charge. Mark Ross, did you want to...
Yep. No, it's all good. Right, well, I actually wrote this shortly the other night because Toby said he wasn't too well, and I went into a bit of a panic, thinking, well, if Toby can't be there, someone's got to speak. And there was plenty to choose from. So this was made for that, but I'll still read it out now. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Ross, and I recently just rejoined the brigade after a bit of a small sabbatical. Just wanted to say a few words on behalf of the brigade and the lads here behind me. John, come here, mate. I'll keep it short and sweet, because everyone that knows me certainly doesn't crave the attention, and there's always been a man behind the camera rather than in front of it. First of all, as a brigade, we'd like to pass on our special thanks to the Chief's family. Man, you guys are magic. Especially for allowing us to be a big part of this day, not only today, nor the week and a half for the last 55, 56 years. What an honour has been not only to the brigade, but to the community, to have a gentleman like the Chief in our lives. It's been fantastic. I first met the Chief around 15 years ago when I joined brigade, and I can honestly say I've never met a man with so much passion for his community and his need to protect it. He was a quiet man and was never one to be in the limelight. So much so that when his QSM award photo was hung proudly in the station, he quietly removed it. It disappeared because he hates it. He hates the fact he's up on the wall. So thank you. I think Jamie, you might have recovered that for us. So thanks very much for that. The Chief would always tick away quiet in the background, making sure his crew were looked after and knowing that his community was looked after. He was always keeping busy at the station, which was basically his second home, whether it be maintenance, paperwork, or entertaining our kids while we were out at the call. The poor bugger. In those last couple of months, when he became unwell, it was time for us to take care of him. And we all know what a challenge that was going to be for letting us to try and help him for once. When TC and myself called up and mentioned we were coming round his place to do our working beat, we were half expecting to actually be kicked off the property. Instead, he gave us a bit of a cheeky smile, knowing that he didn't have the choice because he knew how stubborn we were. Geez, I wonder where we learned that from. Sadly, on the day of the 22nd of January 2023, at 18:28 hours, the siren went up, and we saw as the verse came up on our pages. Deep down, we knew this may be the end of an era. To be there on his final journey was an absolute honour, and could be more proud of the team's effort, sacrifice, and commitment to him. To the lads and the ladies and the families, well, words cannot explain how proud we should be of ourselves. This last week and a half has been bloody tough, but it goes to show how strong we are as a team, guys, and ladies and families. The chief will be very proud of us right now. Maybe apart from our antics the other night when we stayed over with him at the station. We do apologise, Chief. could have been worse. To the Chief, mate, you will never be forgotten for your commitment to this brigade and this community. You deserve every part of every minute of respect given here to you today. You are a friend, a colleague, a leader, a father, and as we would say to us much younger ones, like myself, you are a granddad to us. But to us, you will always be our chief. We love you and travel safe. From your crew.
Right on, Mark, thanks for that. There's a pretty old saying where you can choose your friends but not your family. Unfortunately, Rackhams, your family just grew. You didn't get to choose us, but we're there. We'll always be there. That'll never change. Jim, did you want to say a few words? I'm going to come to you, Jim.
Thank you. Well, I haven't got any notes, so this is just straight off the cuff. First of all, I'd like to say that I've been associated with the Rackham family all my life. When we were young kids, Bill and his brother Bob, we used to play, we used to come to Paeroa, we used to go down the dell, I think they called it, by the river down there. We did all sorts of things. I had the greatest privilege of all, just very recently, 2 nights before he died, we spoke on the phone. Bill and I we sort of drifted apart a bit after we grew up and left school and that, but we came back together in the last few years and we became quite close too. We had another cousin, James Rackham, who lived in Wakatani, also a fire brigade guy. He was a second cousin actually to Bill. And Bill came home and had a couple of nights with me. That was, can't remember how long ago, 12 months, 2 years ago, something like that. And so I'm just so proud to have been associated with the Rackham family for the tributes that have gone on. Now I'll tell you my name, Jim Rackham.
Any other brave souls want to come up? Kenny?
Hello everybody. Kenny Ross. The wrong patch on my shoulder, but that's okay. I started out here with Mark, my brother. He's the older one, just in case you noticed. Back in the day, I had never met Bill in my life before that moment. But it was a bloody good introduction, top bloke. But I just want to touch on a couple of points here. So, Bill's reach extended beyond the fire service. I know that is almost the centre of his existence a lot of the times, but it did extend beyond that. There were 3 sergeants who have been long-term sergeants here in Paeroa. Unfortunately, couldn't make it today because all 3 are overseas. So they pass on their thanks and apologies. To Dino down the back there, representing St John's, who was a good smattering of them around today as well. So Bill's loss will be felt beyond the fire service, that's for sure. the sad part about someone like Bill is you never quite realise the impact they've had until they're gone, and that's what I think we're probably going to discover in the next few weeks. The emergency services family, the fire service family, or the emergency services family in particular, can be a very tight-knit one, but the one thing we forget is the family behind the man, and today that really struck out, or struck me a little bit. So to you guys, I just want to say a massive thank you for all those birthdays missed, the Christmas is ruined, the meal's gone cold, the 3 a.m. wake-ups, the probably grumpy dad, I imagine, at some point. Not that you often sort of feel grumpy, but it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you guys very much. To the rest of you people in this room, remember that, please. Say thank you to your family as well, because it's easy to remember Bill as the chief, which he will always be to me. But Bill, the dad, Bill, the granddad, Bill, the great-granddad, that's the real tragedy of today. Okay, so, on that note, there was the reference to the talk of a tree falling. It's saying that a mighty talk about his falling today. That's one part of the story, but like anything in nature, it gets consumed back into the earth and then it regenerates. So my challenge to the Paeroa Brigade is take some time, take stock, but you will decide how the station regenerates once this mighty talk about is falling. Thank you.
Jamie asked me.
I'll give you a little touch.
Jamie asked me to get up and tell a couple of funny stories because I was married to Bill for 20 years, and everything I heard today was absolutely true about him. I'm just sorry that our lives went separate ways. But I'm very proud of my 2 boys, my 2 sons, Graham and Bill, and my 5 grandchildren who did a fantastic job looking after Bill. I can't believe how wonderful they did. Anyway, I just want to tell you a couple of funny things about being a fireman's wife. First of all, I also want to mention Gay Cleve, who's here. She just reminded me that she and I started a Fire Brigade ladies committee, and we used to help with the catering and things that, everything that happened in the fire station. So we enjoyed that, didn't we, Gay? And I also enjoyed taking part in or going to all the competition days. We had lots of fun with that. But one day, when we lived up in Main Street, I used to go out, the car used to be parked out on the road, and I used to go out and start it for him when the fire siren went. Well, one night, it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I was in bed. Bill was still up, and the fire siren went, so I ran outside in my nightie and started the car for him. And he ran out after me with all his gear on and accidentally pulled the door closed behind him. So I was locked out of the house at 9 o'clock at night in my nightie. The boys were both quite small then, and they were fast asleep, so I couldn't wake them up. So getting back into the house was quite a problem because all the windows were shut except for one little fan light above the kitchen. So I got the rubbish tin and I climbed up and I managed to get my hand eventually through the fan light and open a window so I got in the meantime scratching my legs quite badly. But anyway, that was a little bit of we laughed about that later. And another funny time was when we built the house in Wood Street, and he had his fire brigade mates around helping to concrete the drive, and Barry Brown, my brother-in-law, was there too, and of course the fire siren went, so all the firemen ran away, and poor old Barry was left with the concrete mix all by himself. But he seemed to manage it right from that. So he lots of happy memories, and and thank you so much for all the support you've all given and all the nice things you've said.
Well, I think that sounds like a tradition we should start back up, which is wives, when you hear the siren go, get out, start the cars. so that we can take our time putting our clothes on. Karen.
Hello, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Karen. I was, I think, only female firefighter belonging to the Paeroa Brigade. I finished up here 3 years ago. And I just want to thank Bill very much for taking me on at that time.
I work with her, so I'm allowed to a little bit.
But it posed a bit of a dilemma for Bill, because having a female in the brigade wasn't something that was kind of normal here. So we had conversations around like, I can clean out the broom closet for you to get changed in, if you like. And I'm like, no, Bill, it's fine. The changing room is fine. I said, we're all busy getting dressed, nobody's looking at anything. So he was kind of like... So there was a little bit of a dilemma. So on training nights I used the ladies' toilet and hung my uniform in there and got changed into my blues and then trained with the guys and then back in there and got changed again. But yeah, and I just want to thank the guys as well for making me feel welcome here last Tuesday night. You know, came back to pay my respects. So thank you.
We still have that changing shed for Mark Ross. We encourage him to get changed in there because he gets a little bit embarrassed as well. Oh, sorry, you're still here. My apologies. Is there anybody else? Look, it's if while I'm just saying a few closing words, maybe you can make sure you got yourselves a drink, because I think it'd be fitting to raise a toast to the chief. So just get yourselves a drink. And if some of you, because the chief's favourite drink was DB draft, so I want to see a few DB drafts in people's hands. Okay, well, we've got a few in the room that have spent a little bit of time with William, Bill, or the Chief. I want you to put your hand up if you've ever heard him swear. Because there's not many that have heard a cuss word come out of that guy's mouth. It was always so polite. Even when he was telling us off, he'd never swear. Yeah. I'm sure that if there was a swear word, you must have been pretty bad. So I think it's only fair that we all get up out of our seats. Let's all stand. Let's all stand and raise our glasses to an absolute incredible man who's impacted so many lives and will never be forgotten here in this station or here across anywhere. So cheers, Bill, Chief. Yeah, well, I've got to be the driver, so I'm going to have one beer. Jacko's even have one. So we'll go again. To Bill, to the Chief.